So stacked walls are very um, great concept, and the usability is really wonderful, I found, but it does take a little bit of effort initially to make it work for you. And the concept can be a little bit difficult to understand for the first time. Even once you understand it, it might be a little bit difficult to actually implement it. But basically, I'll show you how I do it. And I make the various wall types that I want, first of all, and then I stack them individually on top of, I take each one of those pieces, which are these pieces right here, and I simply stack them on top of each other the way that I want them to be assembled. And this wall is stacked on top of this wall, which is stacked, I'm sorry, it's the other way around. This wall is stacked on top of this wall, which is stacked on top of this wall, which is stacked on top of this wall, which is stacked on top of this wall. Now, it's not a stacked wall. This is just an assembly of that so that I can make the components that I want, so that I understand what they are, but I also understand what the heights of the various wall types need to be. And so, like I say, I start out by making my wall types. And then I make a typical wall by just taking those components and put them on top of each other. And then I actually make a stacked wall. So what I want to do is show you how to make that stacked wall, but there's something here that you see that might be a little bit interesting to you. And how did I do that? So I can tag each one of these walls. And to get this information as part of this wall, I simply edit the type, and we'll drag this over, and let's maximize it out. And whatever I've called that wall, I put that information into the type mark. So I've called this Trenton Parapet 5. I just type in Trenton Parapet 5. And then anytime I go to tag a wall, annotate, tag, and then I simply click right there. Now you can see that it starts out automatically with a triangle around it. I click on that, and I have made a third wall tag that just doesn't have a box on it, and I uncheck that. I could show you how to do that, but I think the purpose of this tutorial is simply to show stacked walls. That is the midterm in my Revit class is to make stacked walls, and I just want to try this one out and show you how to do it this way. So anyway, I make the wall types simply. If I edit this wall type and you take a look at it, this is the wall type. It has these materials in it, and it has these thicknesses, and that's the wall type that I want for part of that wall, but it's not the entire wall, it's just a part of the wall. So this wall is the Trenton Parapet, and of course we don't have that one in our example. So brick on CMU parapet, let's see if I have that, brick on CMU, here we go. So that's the wall type that I'm using for this piece right here. So if we edit the type and edit the structure, we can see what the wall is made up of, and we can see all of the pieces that go into that to making a wall. Then I simply put those pieces on top of it in the heights that I want them to be, and then I'm going to make a stacked wall with this information, with these different walls, with these different wall heights. So to do that, I go over to architecture. Well, we need to be in a floor plan first of all. So let's type WT. And now I have a floor plan. And I will go to wall. And we have to go down to the stacked walls. Now, in my example, I have a lot of stacked walls already made, but you can grab any. I believe when you start out, you have one or two stack walls that you can modify. So I'm going to modify this one right here. I'm going to edit the type, and I'm going to, interesting note there, I don't know. So I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to call it Trenton Wall 1, like caps. Okay. And I want to edit the components that go into that stacked wall. So let's make this a little bit smaller so we can look at the wall that I have already made here. Unfortunately, we can't make that larger or smaller. So let's see what we can do here. This is the only information I need, is the height of the wall and the wall type here. So I can make this a little bit smaller there, and we'll take a look at it. So my first wall is going to be brick on CMU parapet. So we do the drop down, and we're looking for let's scroll down. Brick on CMU parapet. Here we go. Brick on CMU parapet. Yep. Okay, so that's my first one. My second one is brick on CMU with metal stud and gyp. Okay, so we'll go just type in brick and it'll show me all of the ones that have that. Brick on CMU, brick on CMU with metal, stud, and gyp. So that would be this one. Okay. The third one, because we go from the top to the bottom, so the top to the base. So the third one that I want is going to be limestone on CMU with metal stud and gypsum board and gyp. So let's just sort by gyp and see what we have here. I'm looking for limestone on CMU with metal stud and gyp. So there it is right there. So that's my third one. And I'm seeing the example of it here. All of those pieces. And then my fourth one is the stone ledge. So that would be this one. We'll make that stone ledge, 18-inch stone ledge. That's the one I want. And I need another one, so I'll hit the insert. And the last one is going to be the 18-inch basement wall. Whoops, not that one. This one, 18-inch basement wall. Okay, now what are the heights? Well, the height of this first one here, and I think all of my offsets are going to be 0. So that means that they should all line up, finish face exterior. So all of these walls should line up. Oh, what is this one here? This one. Okay, well, let's make the heights. So 2'6". This one should be 2'6". 2'6". This one should be 12'8". So we'll make this one 12'8". This one should be 1'10". Oh, I like my basement wall to be the variable. So I'm going to click on this one and set it as the variable. So this will stretch or contract depending on what I say the total wall height is. So if I made this wall height much taller, then all of these other pieces are going to be the same height. But there has to be one variable that can stretch or contract to satisfy my top and bottom constraint, or the base constraint and the top constraint. So I make that the variable. It's very simple. You just click on the lot of the wall type that you want to be the variable, and then you click variable. You get the variable. And this next one here is supposed to be the stone ledge, and it highlights what it is, and that should be 8 inches. So let's fix that one to make it 8 inches. And the next one up is number 3, which is my limestone. Yeah, gotta make that one the limestone on CMU. So Limestone on CMU with metal stud and gyp. Limestone on CMU. I don't see it. Limestone on metal stud and gyp 2. That should not be. I don't see the number 2 there. Limestone. So that should be showing me all of the choices I have for limestone on CMU, limestone on CMU with metal, stud, and gyp. Well, I don't think I want it to be number 2, but I'm going to put that in there anyway for now. And that one should be 1'10". So that one should be 1'10". Okay. So let's double check. 2'6" for the top one, 12'8" for the next one, 1'10", 8 inches, and 3'6". That's a variable, and that's the variable. Okay, so I think it looks pretty good. Let's say okay, and okay, but I'm a little well, I can put it where I want to put it now. Just put it in here. I have a section line cut through there, so I'm going to worry about the top of that wall is top of brick parapet wall. So that's what I want the top of the wall to be. So we'll come over here. Back to the wall. What did I just make? Trenton wall 1. Okay, so let's top the base constraint should be the bottom of garage footing, I think. Let's see what we're calling that. I think that's it. Let's see what that level is called. Bottom of garage footing. Okay. So that should be my base of that wall. So my base constraint will be the bottom of garage footing, and the top constraint we said was going to be this one, top of brick parapet wall. Okay. Top of brick parapet wall. We don't want an offset. We want it to be 0. So let's see what happens if I put that in. I did not get an error message, so let's go look at that section now. This is section 15, so it's right there. I'm going to highlight that and then come over to section 15. It'll be highlighted, and there it is. And I did get a little ding, and that was telling me that the walls overlapped. All right, so this looks pretty good for my stacked wall. The only question I have is this is gyp 2, and it doesn't have the limestone and cement with no stuff and gyp. I don't know. It doesn't have the number 2 after it. Maybe that's all of the text that it's allowed. It can include. But anyway, that's my stacked wall, how I do that. And I give a little extra on how to tag the walls with the actual wall name, because I find that helps me. What did I call this one? And what are the heights? So now I have it all done. If we look at this stacked wall, we can see that it is exactly what I wanted it to be. It starts where I wanted it to be and it ends. Now, let's say, for example, I wanted this wall to be a little bit taller and I just drug it up. What would happen? All of these pieces are going to stay the same, but the variable, which was this basement wall, that's the one that stretched in order to satisfy the constraints. I'm saying that I want this to be the base constraint, and I stretch that wall up. This is the variable is the one that expands, or let's see if we can contract it a little bit. And there you see, now it made itself a little bit smaller. That's the wall that got a little bit smaller, that bottom one, because that's the variable. So when you, if you get an error message, let's say you tried to do this. Here's an error message, and what is it telling us? It says the wall is shorter than the minimum heights. And what that means is that all of the heights of this wall that we told it we wanted it to have doesn't fit in the height that we tried to make it. So if this wall is a foot and this wall is a foot, everything's a foot. The total components, when you look at all of these together, when you add up all of the heights of all of these, if you try to fit that into a elevation that is less than the height of these, the combination of all of those, then we'll get an error message, and Revit will say, well, I can't fit a 12-foot tall wall in a 10-foot height constraints. So we don't want to do that. So let's fix this one. My base constraint is still good. My top constraint, we said, was going to be what? The top of the parapet wall. So we'll fix that by putting it back to the top of the parapet wall. Let's see if we can find it. Top of parapet wall. Top of brick parapet wall. Okay, top of brick parapet wall. And we don't want any offset. So now it should line up directly. Let's find that wall that we just made. There's the top, it goes right to that level, and the bottom, which goes right to that level. That's our stacked wall.